I've experienced a ton of media within my life, and within that media, I've come to also find multiple antagonists I love with all my heart due to their interesting philosophies, enjoyable standpoints within the series they inhabit, or complex writing which makes you sit down and truly think over their character. And then there are antagonists I hate who have none of that. Muzan. Sorry, seems like I'm coming down with something. Getting back on track, even after experiencing so much media, there's one antagonist that always stuck with me even before I read the manga he's in, and that character will be N from the Pokemon Adventures manga. N is a character that treads the line of being idealistic, aka someone who pursues what he believes to be high and noble principles while prioritizing them over more practical means of success. Ergo, him leading Team Plasma in their process of taking away and setting free other people's Pokemon, sometimes by force, under the concept of rightful liberation. And while his ideals and his friggin' design are parts of his character I adore, what I truly love about his character is his interactions with both Black and White, and how he not only aids in their development, but how they aided his. But before getting to that, I should probably answer one question. Who exactly is N? Natural Harmonia Grupus, or N, is someone who since childhood has been capable of hearing the voices of Pokemon. Since he had no familial ties, most people just assumed he was crazy, until he was adopted and taken in by Getas, which honestly is the equivalent to All For One being the only one to hold out a hand for Shigaraki, now that I think about it. But this past gets so much worse, as in order for Getas to mold N into the idealistic king he sought after, he ensured N would only grow up surrounded by Pokemon being abused by humans year after year. This in turn led to him believing that the world where people forced their Pokemon to align with their wishes and values without even listening to their Pokemon's voices were wrong. To trap them within Pokeballs and force them to battle was wrong. So he'd liberate the Pokemon of this world as Team Plasma's king and make his ideals a reality. And although N is portrayed as a villain, he's really not. In hindsight, is he a criminal? Yes, but a villain at his core, I'd have to disagree, as most of his ideals at the end of the day are of pure intentions, while his methods being misguided and turned to the extreme due to the brainwashing from Getas. As N at the end of the day acknowledges that there are good trainers out there, exhibited by the words he gave his Pokemon before his final battle with Black, that if they find a person they truly like, there's nothing wrong with them staying with them. N doesn't want to completely liberate Pokemon and destroy the system of trainers utilizing them. He wants those who either refuse to listen to them or force them into paths that don't align with their underlying dreams to redirect their worldviews or break off connections with their Pokemon in order to stop holding them back, which is exactly what he does when it came to his first true confrontation with White. The Ferris wheel scene is what I believe to be one of N's highest character peaks, not only due to how cold he was while cornering White, but also due to it showcasing how much of a threat he is psychologically. White to this point has obviously been portrayed to us as nothing more than a show director, with their goal always being to run Pokemon musicals and help us spreading the joy of experience creative fulfillment to other Pokemon and in turn bring joy to those who watch them perform, which was also led to her not only being incapable of defending herself due to how headstrong she was solely towards her goal, but also unable to aid in both her and Black's first confrontation with N, and even her confrontation with him now. And the reason N truly confronted her was because he sees through the contradictions within her character. He considered their enforcement of forcing Pokemon to imitate people as a paradox, as at the end of the day, they're doing no more than exploiting their Pokemon. Even so, N agrees that all Pokemon aren't the same. Just like humans, they each have their own different dreams or different goals that they seek to accomplish, before berating White on how she treats her Tepig Gigi, claiming that by placing too much weight on her theatrical talents, she may be suppressing her inner desire to battle. He preaches that to derive your Pokemon to evolve and grow stronger violates the essence of said Pokemon. To choose and control its activities for your own convenience is unjust, and that Gigi at her core is a battler. This is when he has to Servine attack Gigi, and when White tries to step in, claiming that she doesn't know how to fight, and brings up the point that it's White who's the problem, because she simply won't let her. N continues to berate White on her inability to listen to Gigi's voice, saying while chasing her dream of creating a Pokemon musical and giving those Pokemon who want to perform a voice isn't a crime, but not listening to your Pokemon's voice is the worst crime of them all. And soon enough, N's argument comes out on top as Gigi one-shots his Servine, winning her first battle, and congratulates her on the victory and begins to praise her abilities, claiming that she could possibly even defeat the champion. And in turn, White takes this as Gigi becoming brainwashed, as she begs to understand what's happening within her mind, as if everything she believed before was a lie, and it's this circumstance that proves N at this moment is correct. White's refusal to accept this side of Gigi is a clear representation of what N was preaching. White is only trying to accept the side of Gigi that conveniences her, which in turn leads to Gigi abandoning her and aligning herself with the one who listened to that underlying part of herself. Now, while I admit the method he chose was, we'll call it less than ideal, it was the starting point of what allowed White to grow into a better character. After her confrontation with N, White tells Black that she still hasn't given up on her dream to excel in show business, and she admits that in every sense and was correct. She never truly listened to Gigi's voice, and when she was incapable of accepting the truth, she attempted to run from it. All this led to her declaration of taking on the battle subway. She takes a break from show business in hopes of possibly understanding Gigi more when they reunited. She began to figure out the troubles of catching and controlling Pokemon within battles, along with her worldview changing as she wants her Pokemon to now choose their own path, acknowledging how it's wrong for her as a trainer to only be knowledgeable of one of those possible paths. With this journey not only allowing her to grow into a more powerful trainer, but one that understands how interesting battling truly is, and eventually become a Pokédex holder as well. Although the true height of her character is reached during her reunion with Gigi, as after N uses her to defeat Elder, N once again questions whether White wants to limit Gigi to her career in show business, and asks if she wants him to return her, which White refuses. She admits that she didn't have the right to influence Gigi because she never had a Pokemon battle before, but after the battle subway and learning to train with her Pokemon, she truly came to the conclusion that Pokemon may choose what they wish to do. Whether it be battles or show business, she will support them with her entire being all the same, which is why she tells Gigi that it's alright if she wants to continue battling, and that if she ever wants to perform again, she's always free to come back, and that once the day comes, she refuses to let N stand in her way. And this is the moment N truly accepts who White has become, someone who shares his ideal and acknowledges that in this sense they aren't truly enemies. Through N's confrontation at the Ferris wheel and its impact on White's journey, she was capable of understanding her Pokemon better and achieving a worldview that would turn her into a more mature character. Her main catalyst of development was N showing how important it was to listen to your Pokemon and ensure you're not limiting their pathways, but for Black, he was attempting to push out a completely different message. Ever since they first crossed paths, N has been a force of nature that Black blatantly disagreed with. While N was attempting into Black's head about him not listening to their voices and their cries for being exploited for his selfish desires, Black corrects him, pushing the notion that they're collectively working hard to win the Pokemon League. And through Black's nature, N picks up a keen interest within his character, claiming he came across another puzzle he can't solve. Black's character in my mind is built upon doubt. Don't get me wrong, Black is a very headstrong character in his own right, shown through his innate trait of researching both Pokemon, gym leaders, and even the Elite Four before his battles in order to give himself an edge. Though the main reason I say he's built upon doubt is due to his relationship with not only N, but Team Plasma as a whole. Within my personal favorite gym challenge, which I may cover in another video, Black's nature is considered murky, due to its underlying annoyance with Team Plasma, as their antics may have gotten the Pokemon League postponed. In general, Team Plasma continuously got in the way of his goal, causing him to become frustrated and in turn lose bits of his spirit that made him a strong trainer, which is further amplified by his confrontation with N after he defeated Elder. Black stands tall and declares he's going to defeat N and rescue the kidnapped gym leaders, only for N to do what he does best and attack him psychologically. N questions if Black could truly defeat him as he is now. To Black's confusion, N simply states that even Black's Pokemon know it's pointless to listen to Black's commands, as they are all aware of their inability to defeat him. Even though he rejects the idea, internally, Black agrees. His dreams that were once filled with his goal of winning the Pokemon League were now disrupted with his doubt on whether or not he can defeat N, leading to N further adding fuel to the fire when Munna refuses to eat Black's dreams and clears his head. N claims that is due to the flavor changing. Munna doesn't want to eat Black's dreams because they don't taste good. Munna only stayed because his ambition was feeding him. ending with the declaration that Black and Muna never had a real relationship to begin with. This confrontation with N showcased just how much Black still has to go, as while he is an amazing battler and has improved since the beginning of the story, he still has a ton of maturing to do before he's prepared to take on N, and he is only capable of doing so once he hits rock bottom, causing him to consider ending things there, claiming that all he wanted to do was win the Pokemon League. But once Team Plasma came into the picture and he was picked as the hero of truth, he got dragged into something way over his head. Although that's when the voices of his Pokemon saved him from that despair. What Black said at the beginning of the series wasn't wrong in the slightest. They are all working towards accomplishing the goal of winning the Pokemon League, and each one of them refused to give up on their dream halfway. That realization, pushed by N's confrontation, is what caused him to find the strength to challenge Drayden right before the league starts. That's what caused him to build the strength to save Cheren and reunite with Musha. And that's what pushed him to be realized as the hero of truth and utilized by Reshiram in order to defeat N. Their final battle is the culmination of both Black and N's characters. Zekrom woke from the Darkstone because N had an unbending ideal in liberating Pokemon, and Reshiram awakened from the Lightstone due to Black's truth, leading to Black realizing that there's no need for him to wonder how to fight or why he was chosen. All he must do is face Zekrom with the same depth as Reshiram. That turn allows Black to not only eventually be acknowledged by N as the hero of truth, but also defeat N and Zekrom. N is an amazing antagonist due to him being the catalyst for others to develop while also developing himself. Through his initial worldview, he was capable of altering White's perspective on how she handles her Pokemon, showcasing how to be knowledgeable on different pathways is an ideal trait for a trainer, and how to limit your Pokemon to one path is disingenuous, which to his surprise led to her thanking him for aiding and helping her understand Gigi more, while showing Black how his doubts were holding him and his Pokemon back, and it was only with him figuring out his truth and pushing past that doubt that he became a hero worth truly acknowledging as his adversary, and even at the end of the day, someone who saw him as a pretty good guy. But at the same time, it was also Black that changed N's perspective as well. When they first met, he was perplexed by Tepig's voice when he battled it. Tepig was happy to battle with Black, and he felt he understood him, which contradicted everything N had previously believed in. This is what allowed N to change and further look into what he truly wanted to accomplish. He admits to have been experiencing doubts while traveling around Unova, and hell, he even went against the initial plan to test his resolve against Black and face him as a hero, only to admit that while he could hear their voices, he could never understand them to the same wavelength that Black can, which is why he lost, leading to him leaving in order to find himself, in hopes of figuring out the next step in his journey. And then there was never a Black and White 2 manga adaptation, so don't look into it. Anyways, see you in the next one. Bye.